January's theme is illogical twists, and the first film that I'm going to be talking about is Perfect Stranger from 2007. The film follows an investigative journalist who's playing a game of cat and mouse with a powerful CEO as she searches for evidence linking him to her friend's death. I'm not gonna lie, the premise actually sounds more interesting than the film presents itself. The problem is that it focuses on too many little concepts that ultimately don't factor into the major story. For instance, the film came out around the time that online chat rooms were becoming very popular, so this aspect is written into the plot and almost kind of tries to be a main focus, but if you eliminated that whole side plot, the film really doesn't change. Now, there is one alleged reason why all of these elements don't mesh in the final product. Now, allegedly, there were multiple endings filmed, and I say allegedly because I couldn't find any solid sources to back this claim up. In fact, the DVD came out around the time when unrated versions were a big thing, and if there was multiple endings, it would be plastered all over the DVD case saying, there's 3 multiple endings, buy this movie now to see the unrated cut or see the alternate footage or blah blah blah. There's none of that here. However, I will say it does explain the disjointed concepts, but again, no actual source that I could find that backs this claim up. However, another reason why this feels like it could be a legitimate thing is because of the reason why it's on this themed list in the first place, the ending. I'm not going to go into full spoilers, but I will say that the ending to this comes out of nowhere, completely rewrites one of the characters, and it just does not make any sense. Now, this isn't my first time viewing this film. I have seen this a couple of times, so going through it from the beginning, knowing what the twist was, I was able to catch some very subtle hints, but ultimately, it doesn't really work. In fact, it comes off of the heels of a different reveal that if they had polished the script a little bit stronger, that actually would have been a more effective twist. So with my rating system, for filmmaking, I'm going to give this film a 2 out of 5. I will say that the actors do seem like they are invested in their roles and they do seem to be putting forth an effort. And the concepts on their own are interesting, but once you amalgamate them all into one film, things just kind of fall apart. And these concepts are presented in a rather dull package, which ultimately kept me from being fully invested. And obviously the rewatch rating suffers from these factors, so I'm giving it a 1 out of 5. I would need a very, very good excuse for deciding to put this back on. In fact, if I hadn't thought of this film while I was drafting for this theme, who knows when I would have gotten around to rewatching this. So those are my thoughts on Perfect Stranger. It's definitely not a film that I could recommend, but if you have seen it, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Thanks for watching.